It's Happy Hour from Central City, New Orleans. Hello, I'm Grant Morris. We're at Casa Borrega on Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard, right at Felicity Street. Casa Borrega is a bar, a restaurant, and a live music venue. Check them out on Facebook and Twitter, and even better, come down here and have a drink. Come and have a drink with us, or come and have a meal, listen to some music here anytime you'd like. In the next 60 minutes here at Casa Borrega, you're going to meet just 4 of the many thousands of fascinating people who live in New Orleans, and you're going to hear some live music as well, correct?
Yeah.
Thank you. At the end of the show, you might conclude New Orleans is a great city where people love to talk, have fun, and enjoy great music, but you probably know that already, so let's get right on with doing nothing but enjoying the next 60 minutes of Happy Hour together. My really interesting bunch of guests sitting around the table here are 2 interesting women and 2 interesting men. I'll introduce you to them in this order. Cherry Brown. Hi, Cherry.
Hello.
Making a return.
Yes.
To Happy Hour. Cherry is an independent burlesque artist, a burlesque educator, a burlesque costume creator, a stage manager, and kitten. Hello, what does that mean, kitten?
A stage kitten is somebody who is basically the stage hand on stage. They're a pretty girl who's able to pick up the clothes and moves everything around on stage as well.
I believe pantie wrangler is also accepted nomenclature for this
And I was
job.
just in Texas, and they called theirs bunnies, stage bunnies.
Let me add that. Also a stage bunny and panty wrangler. Cherry combines a traditional burlesque buxom... Oh my God, I can't read this. Cherry combines a traditional burlesque buxom beauty with her precise hip shakes and quick steps that make an audience beg for more. Sweet Miss Cherry Brown can be seen regularly in New Orleans at the Burlesque Ballroom and more frequently of late across the country. You're heading out of town.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot out of town. New York, Texas, Florida, and hopefully next summer I'll be in Australia.
Really? What do they call it there, I wonder, when it goes the other way down the drain? the panties.
It's still burlesque all over.
Is it what's a panty wrangler?
Yes.
Gig, I wonder, called. Sitting to my left, Marc Pagani is back as well, making a return to Happy Hour. Hello, Marc. Thanks for coming back.
Nice to be back.
Good to see you. I'm glad you're still alive. Marc is a professional photographer, an author, a mountaineer, a musician, and an Ironman triathlete. You must have one hell of a heart. Marc has photographed expeditions around the world, attended over 450 weddings. Is still an incurable romantic. Doesn't actually say that here, but
no, it doesn't
I said that here. And scaled mountains in Argentina, the Himalayas, the French Alps, and in North America. Marc Pagani has won awards for his travel pictures. The Artistic Guild of Wedding Photojournalists has named him one of the top 10 photographers in the world, the known world, that is. And he's a brand new book called Fearless Photographer Travel, and if all that isn't enough, check this out. He's just back from climbing Mount Everest.
Yes. Well, not exactly, but I'm back from Everest, yeah.
Back from climbing a part of Mount Everest.
Exactly.
Right? You've been closer to Mount Everest than anyone at this table. Anyone who's been anywhere near the Himalayas?
No.
Nepal?
Yeah.
Eric, you went to Nepal ever?
Close.
Not even close.
No.
Okay, Debbie Davis is sitting to my right. Hi, Debbie.
Hi.
Debbie is a singer and stupendous ukulelist. In fact, New Orleans' premier ukulelist.
Premier female ukulelist.
Oh, who's the premier male ukulelist?
I don't know, but they're a feisty bunch. I don't need any of them coming after me.
Is there another word like panty wrangler for ukulelist?
God, I hope not.
There's no euphemistic term for ukulelist. Debbie moved to New Orleans in 1997 and has recorded since then with a who's who of New Orleans musicians, far too numerous to enumerate. Wow, this is a really interesting script today, but including everyone from John Boutte to Alex McMurray and Harry Shearer from Spinal Tap and The Simpsons. Debbie's been the voice of the Zatarans commercial and for the last 12 years, one of the 3 voices in the vocal trio, the Fister Sisters, with whom she performs all over the city, across the country, and around the world.
It's all true.
That's all true, all that stuff I read.
So far.
Okay. How is it
Other
going
than
with
my
it?
name has an E in it. Actually, 2
Debbie
E's.
Davis has an E. What, does Davis have an E too?
No.
There's just one E. In
No.
D-E-B-B-I-E.
There you are.
But your real name is Deborah, I assume, is it?
So that's a little personal. Don't
Her
you
real
think?
name is Steve, actually.
That's too
Let's
personal.
save that for a couple more cocktails in. Come on, Mark.
Okay, all right. We're
Sorry,
not going to get to
sorry.
your real name. I don't want to blow anything. Eric Heigle is sitting across from me as well. Hi, Eric.
How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you. Eric is the drummer. A drummer, not the drummer. He's New Orleans' premier drummerist.
Is that a word?
No, I don't think so. But it's like, is ukuleleist a word, actually?
Of course it is.
It is?
What is one who plays the ukulele if not a ukulelist?
Well, why isn't drummerist a word then?
Because drum is the instrument and drummer is one who plays.
How about drummist?
Drummist.
Drummist.
I'll take drummist.
Okay.
Yes.
Eric is New Orleans' premier drummist. What's that, Chris? Percussionist.
There we
Oh,
go.
okay. All right. I'll say that again.
It's like panty wrangler.
Panty wrangler. Eric is New Orleans' premier panty wrangler. Music producer, he's a sound engineer, and he's the founder of What Noise Studios, as well as the creator of, and this is awesome, the Bloody Sunday Sessions, which are a web-based video series of stripped-down musical performances that take place in the back of an iconic New Orleans mule-drawn carriage. Have you guys seen these things?
Yeah, I have seen this. I saw one with the Soul Rebels. It was
And
really
I
cool.
saw one with Machia Lake, and my husband did one with you with the Tin Man.
Your husband is Matt Perrine.
Perrine.
We did
Perrine.
Aurora.
You say
we did
Perrine,
Aurora.
I say no.
Let's
Hang
call
on.
the whole thing off. Yeah, sorry. He's a tubist, by the way.
Tubaist or tubist.
No, tubist.
Okay, so tubaist has no A in it. Ukulelist has no E at the end.
See?
And percussionist is something else. The idea for the Bloody Sunday sessions was born on a break from a recording session while hanging out on the balcony of the Pontalba building in the French Quarter, and the name Bloody Sunday Sessions has nothing to do with history, which is just as well, because I didn't know that was a historical reference. It simply refers to the fact that the sessions are shot on Sundays, and everyone who participates gets a Bloody Mary.
There you go.
It's an awesome idea, Eric. How did you come up? Were you drunk on Bloody Marys when you came up with that?
You've got me.
That's not too personal of a question.
No, sir.
Is Eric
Well, I'm
Heigle your
drunk
real name?
Always.
You're always. Are you drunk right now?
I am.
Awesome.
So that part of it is trivial. The idea was that I had somebody recording in my living room.
Who was
apartment.
it?
His name's Blake Hunter. He's from Charlottesville, Virginia. Really incredible artist. And he was leaving the next day, so the idea was to do some sort of interview or performance, some way to document him being in New Orleans making a record. We're on the balcony, yada, yada, yada. We see the carriages passing below because it's right there bordering Jackson Square. And he just grabbed his guitar. I grabbed my recorder, and that's where it started.
Are you a filmographer, a videographer as well, on top of all these other things? Percussionist?
Amateur videographer and photographer.
So that's how you shot the first one. You just went out there and shot it.
No, actually, my roommate at the time, Travis Laurendine, he is more of a video guy than me. I was recording the sound.
Okay. Now
Yep.
that's a great name, Travis Laurendine, isn't
Yep.
it? Sounds like, what should you be with a name like Travis Laurendine, Cherry?
Well, he could be a boylesque performer.
A boylesque?
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a boylesque
Oh, yeah.
performer.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Really?
It's all burlesque, but the men, some of them have taken on the title as boylesque, which means male burlesque. So, and they're quite creative. It's very amazing to
Do
watch.
we have many of those
They don't
here?
have
And-
breasts, so they'd have to be creative.
Yeah, they don't have breasts, but some of them wear
I have
pasty.
breasts.
Well, everyone has.
Not that
yes.
anybody wants
They
to
have-
take a look
they have,
at.
They have pecs.
To
let me
some
just say.
degree or another,
okay.
everyone
Yeah.
has breasts.
Yeah, I think so.
however.
And some of them wear pasties, some of them don't. But I mean, it's amazing to watch. They do a lot.
Well, guys wear pasties?
Yeah, sometimes.
That just almost slipped by me there. What do you Eric, would you do that?
I'm not so sure about that. Are there gender-specific pasties, or is it just a female pasty on a male
No,
breast?
I mean they make different ones. Like sometimes they'll have like darker rhinestones or darker colors, to look more masculine. And it's literally just
Yeah.
small
Yeah,
little
'cause
ones.
Because you
That's
don't
what
want to
they
look
look
like a
masculine.
feminine pasty after all if you're a guy, right?
But it's like whatever their costume is. Like ours as well. Like our pasties usually match our costumes or have like a contrast to our costumes. And so it's whatever their costume is what it's going to look like.
And what's a guy wearing? Is it like a Speedo? Or?
No suits.
Ah.
They wear suits, and they'll have breakaway suits that like have special snaps to where they can pull it and it just breaks away, and they'll do all different dances. And
When I was stripping at the Sugar Shack up in Wisconsin, I had a gold lame breakaway that was all Velcro. So yeah,
It sounds very tasteful.
it was. Very
That's Marc Pagani saying that, not Eric Heidel. But in case
Thank
you
you for
just
that
wanted,
clarification.
just wanted to make sure that nobody thought that you were a stripper in
Yeah.
and where?
Not yet.
Wisconsin.
Chippenden-
The Sugar
Wisconsin.
Shack. Yeah,
You're still young.
that's completely made up,
you're
but
still
it
young.
sounds
I
good.
started young.
You got some mileage on that
we
thing.
can get you started.
Yeah.
Did you last time you were here, Cherry? This is all coming back to me now. Strangely, it's funny that I
Oh,
remember this because
God.
we were talking about how you get some sort of nipple glue that sticks the pasties onto your nipples. Remember?
Yeah, we were.
Why? How did we get onto that subject? And what was the big deal about it, other than the strangeness that there's an actual spirit gum or something? I think.
I don't remember well, it's not a big deal for me. It's old hat, but I think we got on the subject because we started talking about the costumes that burlesque performers wear, and then when I said pasties, you were like, "Wait, what?" And
I'm sure I didn't say that. Do your nipples get beat up from pulling those things off and on?
No, you make sure you don't get it on. I mean, some people do. I make sure that I just cover the area around it with tape. Like I use double-sided sticky tape, so I don't.
It's
beat
Nipple
it.
Talk with Grant Morris.
You use double-sided sticky tape on your breasts.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's called
okay.
Top Stick,
As you do.
as you do.
Do you do that as well? Debbie, because you were...
It's an awfully personal question.
Well, first of all, you won't tell me your real name, and now you won't tell me if you use double-sided sticky tape on your breast.
Pattern yet?
Yeah. This is going to be a long hour.
I'm in the burlesque protection program, man.
I was gonna say yeah.
So
Leave
you
it
guys,
alone.
you guys know each other. You worked together
Yes.
in burlesque before. So Debbie, you were a singer in the burlesque show.
I occasionally still am. I've worked with Bust Out Burlesque and with Trixie's Burlesque Ballroom. I did a guest appearance at Fleur de Tease for one of their anniversary shows, and way back before Katrina was part of the Southern Jezebels and the Shim Shimettes.
I'm impressed you can even remember all that.
Well,
So
there was a lot of alcohol. I'm impressed too, quite frankly.
do we have more burlesque performers per capita in New Orleans than anywhere else, or has every city got all these?
No, we don't have as many as more bigger cities. New York has a lot more than we do, and San Francisco, I'm sure, has a nice group. But I mean, it's pretty much just per city. You can't really judge like how many performers are because they travel so much or they move and everything like that. So a burlesque performer from St. Louis might move here, and then another person from New Orleans might move to New York or Florida. So all of the burlesque performers are pretty connected. But we do have quite a bit here, but not as many as New York. I'd say New York probably has at least over 100 performers.
But I don't think they have as many organized troops.
No,
as
New York
we
doesn't do troops at all.
It's all sort of a solo.
Yeah, New York
circuit.
does shows. Like they'll have specific shows that either happen weekly or once a month or bi-weekly, and so then they just have a rotating cast of people from the New York burlesque scene that come in and perform. Whereas in New Orleans we have 5 different troupes where people are interchanging with each other, but there's 5 specific troupes that go by names and do shows.
That's the sort of New Orleans way. Mark,
New Orleans has a really also has like Bella Blues New Orleans School of Burlesque, which is really user friendly, new user friendly. Inviting
I teach
pretty
there
much.
sometimes.
Oh, do you? Yeah. It's reasonably priced. I think it's Tuesdays and Thursday nights, and it's a great thing for new people.
How do you know all this?
I'm good friends with Leah Bella Blue. So
That's someone's real name, Leah Bella Blue.
no, her real name is Leah, but her stage name is Bella Blue.
Okay, where is that then?
You know what? I'm not sure. Do you know? Yeah, you would know it. You've
Yes,
done
I
it.
do.
Yeah.
I teach there sometimes. It's at Crescent Lotus Dance Studio on Calhoun Street. It's 3431 Calhoun.
Oh, that's right down there by Ted's Frost Up.
Yes. It's like diagonal from it. And she does burlesque classes Tuesday nights at 6:20 to 7:20 and Thursday nights 7:15 to 8:15. And they're only $10 to come in and
20.
because there's other classes that happen there. So it's in between different classes.
It's like
There's
NASA. It's like finally time.
There's belly dancing
You don't get-
classes and all hip hop classes. There's all different classes.
What time's
that
the
go on
hip hop
there.
class? 7:06.
I have no clue.
6:20.
That's at 8:08, of course.
8:08.
8:08.
Nice.
Very good. Great minds think alike. You too.
You can always just check their website. That's CrescentLotusDanceStudio.com
Okay.
or New Orleans School of Burlesque.
Very good. Okay. So do you know these other women who are in other cities in New York? And
I do. I know.
is there like a
I know a lot of
sorority?
them. I guess you could consider it a sorority. We don't fight as much as a sorority. But we all are connected, thank God for social media, but also because people travel down
I
here
don't
to
think
perform.
I've ever heard anyone say that, actually. Thank
It's-
God for social media.
It's
I don't-
useful
really?
for burlesque because that's how we make all of our connections. Like if we want to go out of town and do like a month-long tour, we'll have known some people that have come in here that are from New York that have come here to perform for like a week. And we email them and be like, hey, I'm coming to New York, these so-and-so dates. What kind of shows are up there? Is there anything available? And then what they'll do is they'll vouch for you and they'll send stuff off to other people, and that's how you book shows. So it's so useful to have social media to be able to see what shows are going on. Because of Facebook, everybody has their event invites and everything, so you can see what shows are going on, what months, who's running it, who you got to talk to get into it.
And
So it's so wonderful.
Do you know the girls who work on other places on Bourbon Street, like on the strip clubs as well? Was it a different
No, I
class
don't
of
know.
people?
I mean, some of the girls know each other, but I think it's just because they know each other as friends, not because we're burlesque dancers and they're strippers. That's not how they got to know each other. They knew each other as friends.
How do you get to meet a stripper
Money.
to become friends?
I have
It starts with
no
a
clue.
$10 bill.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, I know none of the strippers
I
on
think
Bourbon Street.
there's a misconception that stripping and burlesque is the same thing, so
Yeah.
therefore they should know each other. But burlesque is definitely a
Yeah.
totally different ballgame.
And what do
They
strippers
get
say?
paid more.
Strippers come on stage naked.
They come on stage naked. You mean they end
Or
up
almost
naked?
naked.
Almost
Okay.
naked enough that you're pulling out money before the music starts.
Yeah.
What
which
is
is the idea, as I understand it.
Yeah.
what
and
does the
as a-
stripper say? This is the definition of her job compared to yours. Then?
You know, I don't
Sounds
know.
like a joke.
I've never interviewed a stripper.
No, you don't know
actually,
any
so-
strippers. Mark, do
I
you
don't
know
know
any
any
strippers?
Mark, do you know strippers?
I do know a couple of strippers, but I think I just my own personal observation. I think stripping is not so much about a show as it is about titillation, whereas burlesque combines both. It seems like it's about actual performance, very creative costuming and all that kind of stuff, and doing some titillation at the same time.
I'm going to hire him to do all of my interviews from now on.
Okay, you can be like the publicist for the. Eric, do you know any strippers?
Not personally that I.
Not personally.
Actually,
like I know some
if I
names.
do,
That
if
one
I
night.
do,
You know by
if I do-
reputation. Yeah.
I'm not sure.
You don't know they're a stripper if you do know them. You mean
Yeah, exactly.
that would be a surprise.
Correct.
Where do you do most of your drinking? At home.
Pals.
At home.
Pals.
Pals
Pals
Lounge.
is great,
Wow.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
a good
is
spot.
Yeah, love it.
How
I
long?
get that transferable employee discount because I work at One Eye Jacks.
Nice.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Same owner, 50% off.
No, it's like if you work at the Gap, you get a discount at Banana Republic. It's the
It's
same
pretty much
kind
the
of
same
thing,
thing, yeah.
Exactly.
You get
Only with
have you
alcohol.
checked out the book behind the bar at Pals, the Playboy entertainment drink mixing guide?
No, not yet.
It's like this thick. For those of you in
What
radio,
is that, right?
it's
So
like
that
this
2 inches.
thick, and it's basically a catalog of cocktails. Like any kind of cocktail has been made in the last 140 years. Different ways to plan parties, themed parties, and all of the publishing of the book was supervised by Hugh Hefner. It's pretty boss.
Wow. Very cool.
So yeah.
What do you
Got
do?
it.
What do you do at One Eye Jacks? Are you
I'm the production manager.
oh, okay, that's a good gig.
It's
So you
pretty
must
cool.
hear some good stuff because they have some interesting bands come
They
through
do.
there.
They do.
Who have you heard who was good lately that we should check out?
Let's see. I mean, they all kind of run into each other.
You
I
can't
guess,
remember
to
anything
some
because
degree.
you were drunk.
Probably the most notable show I saw there was Fleetwood Mac guitar player. What's his name?
John McVie? No.
No.
Mick Fleetwood? No, that's
No.
Lindsey Buckingham.
Lindsey Buckingham.
Oh.
Yeah, I
That
heard
was
great things about
probably
that
the
show,
best
too.
show I've seen there.
Wow, I wouldn't
Yeah.
have
And it
expected
was
you to
just
say
him.
that.
And he gets to see burlesque there all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He gets to see me and everyone
Wow.
else in Florida Tees.
Yeah, we do the whole season of Florida Tees. So it's like eight shows in a year, right? Every month, something like that.
10, I do
10?
believe. Yeah.
There's
Yeah, we
eight,
do a lot
there's
of
8 months
burlesque
in a
at
year,
Jacks.
so that'd be right.
What's that?
There's 8 months in a year, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's about right. Okay, Debbie,
Yeah.
joke's over.
What?
Time to play. Time to play something.
Wow.
What do you think?
This is the most direct you've been with any of
I
us.
know.
What
It's time to
do
get
I
on
owe
with it.
this?
Well, I was just thinking we haven't heard any music, and we've
That's
been sitting
true.
here for I don't even know how long, like 8 minutes, 3
20
minutes,
minutes.
20 minutes already.
If that clock's right.
I don't think it is, but
Okay,
it could
well.
be. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I think it is.
This
so,
isn't my party,
what are
man.
you thinking of? You've got your ukulele
I do.
here.
I don't
What-
mean that to sound nearly as threatening as I'm sure it does.
No, it sounded quite friendly.
Oh,
Yes, she
good.
does.
Well, we'll see.
How did you pick up the ukulele first? Did you start off with
Well,
something
with
else?
my left hand. and then-
Okay.
Sorry.
Did you start off with something else and work your way?
I
up?
started off trying to play the guitar, but I cut my hand really badly when I was about 20. I won't say how, but it severed a tendon in my left hand. That
You
made
won't
it-
say how. That sounds interesting.
it,
right there.
It involved alcohol. I don't really
Ah.
want to go into it.
And he looks over at Eric when you
Yeah.
said that. That's interesting.
Speaking of which, I noticed.
You want a
everyone's
drink? Would
glasses
you
of
like a drink?
choice are empty.
Someone has to reach over and grab that picture of
Yeah.
of whatever's in it. We don't have any support staff here today.
It's
It's
the
just
pink
us.
stuff.
I'm trying to play catch up with you guys. Hold on.
Oh, this guy. Okay,
Well-
Eric, you can just bring the picture over if you want. If that would. I mean, you're the professional.
Electronics and liquid.
Yeah, I know. Don't do it. Okay. You're right. Don't do it. Sorry, it's a stupid idea.
So I
But,
sustained
yeah.
a pretty bad cut that severed a
I
tendon
can
in
still
my left
see the
hand.
scar.
Yeah, it's
Actually.
pretty
Oh my
nasty,
God!
right?
Look at that. Yes.
And there's actually stitches underneath that scar.
Wow.
Still there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. What did you? I mean.
Really hardcore. Yeah, it was at a wedding.
Oh
A
no.
wedding injury.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Did you do it on a bottle or on a fence or what?
It's so stupid it almost doesn't bear any discussion, but suffice it to say it made doing bar chords on a guitar almost impossible.
Wow.
So I picked up the ukulele about, I guess it's almost 11 years ago now, and it was kind of on a whim. I think I had seen, I think they'd been showing the Jerk on AMC a lot,
Right.
and I had, been watching Steve Martin play the ukulele, which there's almost nothing sweeter than that. And I went and got myself one on, I think on eBay, and started playing it, and then bought myself a real one. And once I realized how easy it was to play and how versatile it was and how it kind of lends itself to different styles of music, I started telling anybody who would listen the ukulele is going to make a huge comeback, and everybody laughed at me. And now it is literally everywhere. You can't watch 20 minutes of television without hearing it on 2 commercials.
Yeah. And I think the bands that are popular these days, like Mumford and Sons, and a lot of more folksy bands have become more popular. So you're hearing more banjo and ukulele and all these kind of more
It's
rural
true.
instruments, I think.
And even people like, God, I can't even remember his name, but that Hey Soul Sister, that starts out with ukulele.
Oh,
Whether
yeah,
you
Train.
like it or not, it's top 40 now.
Yeah.
It has infiltrated the collective subconscious and cannot be ignored. So
Well, here's to the ukulele.
Take that, music.
Yeah,
let's
here's
have a
to it.
toast.
Cheers to
to
the
Yeah.
ukulele.
Yeah.
What do you, bottoms up.
Chin chin.
Wow. What do you think the reason for that is?
Well, it became really popular in the 20s during the Depression because everybody was getting kicked out of their houses or having to move. There was no television, obviously, and radio was a luxury for a lot of people, but you needed to be able to entertain yourself at home. And people couldn't afford to keep their pianos. People were burning their pianos for firewood during the Depression. It was that bad. But a ukulele was small and inexpensive and portable, and almost everybody could afford it.
But
and
how
it was
does
easy to learn how to play.
and how did it get popular again, though? You think we're going because of
Well,
this
because
economic
it's small and
No-
inexpensive and it's easy to play. I mean, a lot of the same
same?
reasons.
Do you think we're at the same point we were in 1939 or whatever?
I think it's a resurgence
Depression
of
was
the old
29?
time. Yeah, that I think
Wow.
it's a resurgence of like older time music because we've hit this point in music where everything is like
It's all
the
derivative.
new dance crave and all that kind of stuff, but people are starting to break it down and go back to the roots and be like, why did that sound so good back in the day? Like, why do we still listen to that? And I feel
Well-
like the ukulele is like something that continues to come up as a base for most music.
And I think a lot of people too are starting to take it to themselves that they can create music. They don't have to learn how to play the piano. They don't have to go to music school. They don't have to even learn how to play the guitar. They can pick up an instrument and learn how to play it in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And the ukulele is that
lends itself-
simple.
Well, I mean,
Let's get a lesson.
let's get a lesson. That's
We could all, by the end of the show, we could all play something.
I can guarantee you that if you spent 3 afternoons, you would learn enough chords to play half the Grateful Dead songbook. And that is not a denigration to the ukulele or the Grateful Dead. I'm just saying.
Just a fact. How many
It's just a
chords in a
fact.
Grateful Dead song? Pretty, not many.
50-60% of them have 4 or 5 chords. Then you get another real trippy, crazy
Heady.
How much weed should you smoke
14,
before you start
15-minute
playing these?
songs. Yeah. How much weed should you smoke?
Yeah, before
How
you
much
start.
have you got?
playing. Right now, I don't have anything on. Chris is holding it all
Damn it,
in
man. Why'd you
in
even
the
bring it
bag.
up?
But how much should you smoke before you start taking up the ukulele? If you're listening to this, say, somewhere else in the country or even in New Orleans.
Well, I'm certainly not advocating or condoning illegal drug use. But
Well, it's
if
not
I
illegal
were to
everywhere. There
have-
could be people listening to this in Colorado. for
Hypothetically.
example.
hypothetically, if
To our
one
Colorado
were
listeners.
to have, say, an unlimited amount of marijuana,
Yeah.
I would say more than you should smoke if you're planning to drive, but less than you would smoke if you're going to, watch The Wall.
Wow.
Okay.
That is a scientific actual.
That is actually
Yeah.
good range right
Yeah,
there.
very
a
good.
Scientific
There's a
measurement.
little wiggle
right there.
room in there, but,
Yeah.
don't
Okay.
get too messed up, man, or you're just going to wind up playing a G major all night.
Right.
This
That's
sounds
not good for anybody.
Debbie, okay.
This is the best chord I've
What
ever
I
heard.
should totally do is make some macaroni and cheese and play more of this chord.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
I'm just saying.
When we come back from the song, we can talk about climbing Mount Everest.
Mm.
Ooh,
So
Yes.
I think we're all dying to hear about that, right?
I am.
I
yeah.
am. I don't know anyone who's
So
been
am I.
anywhere near Mount
I
Everest.
wanted to hear about it before the show, and you wouldn't let him
I
tell
had
the
to tell you,
story.
no, don't tell it because I want to tell it during the show while
so
we're
we
sitting
had to
here.
talk about lesbian weddings instead.
You
Yes,
better
we
not
did.
make
We
this
did.
anticlimactic in any way.
And we can
it's
talk.
very exciting.
We can talk about lesbian weddings as well, though, because I'm sure anyone who just heard that is going to say, "I'd rather hear about lesbian weddings than
Well, wouldn't we all?
Mount Everest." Surely,
Yeah. And I actually get killed. Ooh, I just ruined it.
you
Yeah.
get killed.
killed?
Yeah.
You get killed in
Like
the.
a lesbian
on
wedding?
Everest. No, on Everest.
I don't remember. I was there. I don't remember that at all.
Are you actually here now?
I'm not. This is a hologram.
Shit. Okay.
High tech
God,
shit,
this
man.
is scary. Okay. Debbie, what are you going to play for real?
What did
I'll
I play
reach-
for
oh, you got it?
real?
Yeah.
Okay.
Taking off her jewelry.
Serious, man.
Okay, here we
Don't
go.
make any sudden movements around the ukulele. Stars shining bright above you. Night breezes seem to whisper, I love you. Birds singing in the sycamore tree. Dream a little dream of me. Say nighty night and kiss me. Just hold me tight and tell me you'll miss me. While I'm alone and blue as can be, dream a little dream of me. Stars fading, but I linger round, still craving your kiss. I'm longing to linger till dawn, dear, just saying this. Sweet dreams till sunbeams find you. Sweet dreams that leave all worries behind you. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me. But in your dreams, whatever they be, dream a little dream of me.
Oh, yes.
Beautiful. Yeah. Awesome.
Thanks,
Okay.
y'all. Take that, music lovers.
Like everybody who's super talented, it just looks so easy, but that did not look simple to me. I was watching you play that ukulele. That is not that as
Those are-
easy
that's
as you
like
sell
Yeah,
it.
that
5,000 more chords than I've ever seen playing on.
Yeah,
Played on a
yeah,
ukulele.
that was
It's
tricky.
got an A flat 7 in it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now do a sharp 13.
Wow.
Sharp 13.
Yeah, that looked actually complicated. It sounded very, very slick and sweet, but it looked
She
Good.
always
it
wants
looked
me to.
difficult.
Oh, you always make me want to take my clothes off.
Wow.
Mark, I always thought that
Hear
was.
that, fellas?
Would anybody here
No.
object?
I've done my job.
You can take them off if you want, Sherry. It's okay.
Debbie Davis always makes you want to take
Take
your
your
clothes off.
That's a
I should put that
bumper
on my
sticker.
business card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark,
Yes.
tell us about climbing Mount Everest. You went there. You're a photographer. You didn't go there as a mountaineer. You went there as a photographer, right? You
This time I was hired by a mountaineer, an explorer named Marc Wood, a British explorer, who crossed the North Pole and the South Pole in 1 year, and his main sponsor, Skype, wanted him to also do Everest as a third pole, essentially. And of course,
Skype.
there were a lot of jokes about pornos that we would make called the
Third
third pole,
pole. Oh, that's awesome.
yeah.
Climbing the third pole.
Climbing the third pole,
Third pole
yeah.
revisited.
slippery third pole, all kinds of
Nice.
things like that. So anyway,
That's-
that didn't actually happen, but we
Dang.
put the idea out now, so who
The,
knows?
the internet's amazing. I
Yeah.
bet we could have it done by
Someone's
next
going to
week.
do it. Someone's going to do
Yes,
it.
climbing the third pole.
So yeah, I got hired to do that, and it's a long trek in to Everest Base Camp, long journey, and all the way we were shooting. I was doing both video and still photography for him, and my job was to go to base camp and spend 5 days or so there shooting a bunch of stuff for him and shooting a little bit of him actually starting the climb in the Khumbu Icefall, and then
In the what?
in the Khumbu Icefall, which is this
Oh.
huge, just like house-sized blocks of ice. It's basically where the glacier from the upper portion of Everest comes down, and it's basically like a sea of ice, and it's constantly changing every day. So the Sherpas have to go up every morning. You can hear them when you're in the tent at base camp, like 1 a.m. They're 10 p.m. actually. They're getting up, and you look out your tent flap, and you see these little lights going up into the Khumbu Icefall, and they're resetting the route because you have to put ladders across these huge crevasses, and you have to do special ropes and all this kind of stuff. So every morning they're up there redoing. They're the heroes of the Everest climbing as the Sherpas. But anyway, yeah. So I spent about 5 days there at Everest Base Camp shooting all that stuff.
Can I just ask you a quick question? These guys are up the mountain at 10 p.m. Is it dark?
It's real dark. Yeah, they're
In the
all
middle of the
using
night, they're on
headlamps.
Mount Everest setting up the thing for
Yeah,
tomorrow.
well,
like-
when you climb each day, actually, and this is true of like when I climb Mount Rainier or Aconcagua in South America. summit day especially, you start like at midnight or so that you're up on the summit about 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and then you're on your way back down while it's still cold enough, because if you wait too long and you're coming back down in the middle of the day, that's when the snow gets really soft, and that's also when crevasses open up, or crevasses that are already there. The snow, the hard snow that's covering them, gets soft, and it's much more dangerous to.
Why do you want to do this? Because it's there?
Yeah, I mean that was
Stupid
George
answer.
Mallory. That's what George Mallory said back in the 30s. But
What motivates you to get up and climb a mountain?
I like it for several reasons. I really like traveling to really unusual places, like really remote places in the world. Excuse me. And so the process of getting there, just the journey, is 90% of the enjoyment for me. And then the other 10% is the challenge. I mean, it's incredibly difficult. It's the higher you go in altitude, the less oxygen there is. So the more difficult the breathing is, and physically challenging and mentally challenging, it can sometimes be incredibly terrifying. So just getting over all that
can sometimes be incredibly terrifying.
Yeah, I mean sometimes it's
you're
pretty
not
straightforward.
scared at all.
Sometimes no, I wouldn't say that I'm always scared. There's definitely a lot of time you're just traversing a glacier, and it's not particularly, it's always a little dangerous, but it's not terrifying. But then you get into positions where you're in a really steep slope. I climbed a mountain in Iceland called Hollywod, and I was unroped the whole time because I was shooting the other climbers climbing up below me, and so I was on 90-degree vertical slopes
with a camera.
With a camera, two cameras actually, and an ice axe, and hoping that my crampons and my ice axe are going to stick each time I kick them into the ice, and stuff like that's pretty scary.
And you're getting paid a lot of money for that?
Yeah, I'm actually a billionaire. I didn't know if you knew that.
I certainly hope so.
You're climbing vertically up a mountain with an ice pick with a camera in your hand, shooting other people.
Yeah.
You think that would be like a pretty high-paid gig?
It's not. It pays the bills.
He at least has life insurance.
Yeah.
Who would insure you? Do you get insurance for this?
It is tough. Yeah. I mean, I have
think.
insurance now, but getting insurance was tough, definitely. So anyway, back on Everest,
I was wondering how much you're worth if you fall off the mountain. Who's going to get it?
I'm going to put you as my beneficiary.
Okay, that would be great.
So okay,
thanks.
Well, there are no mountains in New Orleans, so it's going to be hard to find something to push him off of.
I hope nothing goes
Monkey
wrong.
Hill, you might sprain your ankle. Careful.
So there you are on Everest, being sponsored by Skype, which is the funny part. I suppose they wanted to make a call from Everest.
Well, what we did is the entire way up, at each little village, we contacted, and I say we, I mean the team, and especially Mark Wood, contacted all these schools that were following us on on Facebook, Twitter, and they were getting a lot of education about the different areas that we were in. So it was a very interactional. Is that a word?
Interactionist.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was looking for. Thing where the kids would get to learn a lot of stuff. So every evening we would actually we would set up this thing called the BGAN, which was a remote satellites dish kind of thing. And we were able to video Skype with.
And they can get Skype to work at Mount Everest.
Well, with
without
this
dropping.
Thing.
It doesn't say, sorry, your connection's not
Yeah.
good enough for video.
Well,
I can't get phone reception in Kenner half the time. How is this even
I can't get
thing?
Skype to work one
I
call
know.
without it saying you don't have a high enough bandwidth or something for
Seriously.
video. Would you like to
Netflix in my house.
stop?
Well, you guys don't have this multi-$1,000 BGAN unit that you're carrying around everywhere.
How do you spell BGAN? I'm going to look into that.
I think it's an acronym for something. It's
More
BGAN.
than that.
Okay.
So anyway, we used that, and everywhere we went, we were Skyping with Africa, Australia. I think we talked to New Zealand as well, in the UK, and there would be whole classrooms of kids who would be so excited to see
cool.
us. It was really cool.
That really is cool.
Yeah, and then
So what happened?
Well, the last day that I was at Everest Base Camp, I was in the dining tent and I was handing a chair to somebody, and my back completely went out. And so the next morning I was supposed to leave to head back down, and it was difficult to even sit up. I had to have somebody pull me out of the tent, essentially. And that
Did
day
they video that?
No, I wish they should have.
That
really.
sounds great.
Yeah.
Wow.
Your back is so sore that you can't even sit up, and so they have to pull you on the ice, and you
Yeah.
out of your sleeping bag, out of a
But
tent.
the ice is good for your back, right?
Hey,
You're
good
supposed
point.
to ice on
Oh,
for
that's a
20
good point. I
minutes
should just
and-
lay it on the ice the whole day. That's a good point.
See? You got to bring me with you next
I
time.
guess so. Yeah. So that
What
was.
did you do though? How did you?
It was miserable. It was very painful. The next day, we started heading down as we were scheduled to do, and each village, it takes about 7 days to get back down from base camp back down to the
6 or
landing
7
strip
days.
called Lupa. Yeah, and so the first day was really miserable. That night I got into a little village and had really bad fever.
On top of your
on
bad
top,
back.
and I had really bad gastrointestinal stuff, which you get every time you go to Nepal because it's it's in the water, it's in the food, it's Nepal. So that night, couldn't sleep, couldn't sit up, had to pee into a bottle, like lean over on one side and pee because I couldn't get up to go pee.
Oh my God.
And,
Are you sleeping by yourself or in your
Yeah,
own room?
I was in my own little tea house room.
Please tell me this pays more than you said it did before.
Just go back and sort of summarize where we are now. You're on the end of day 1.
No, actually, it's on the way down. So
Yeah, on the way down, but it's going to take 6
the
or
end of
7
day
days to
one,
walk out.
I'm
End of day
miserable.
1.
So I
You've
check
got-
in a
you're
helicopter.
peeing into a bottle.
Right.
You've got upset stomach, some
Yeah.
sort of
And I've got a
diarrhea. Or
fever.
something. You've
Yeah.
got fever, which
Right.
is from what, the same thing?
And
Probably.
you've thrown your back out.
And
And
you
I've thrown
can't
my
walk
back and can't
properly.
walk. So it's
And you've
not-
only got 6 days to go, so
Yeah,
no
only
big
6
deal.
days, so no problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Go,
Other than
what
that, Mrs.
temperature
Lincoln,
is
how'd
it?
you like to play?
How cold? How
It's
cold
cold
is
at
it?
nighttime. It's 10 degrees, 15 degrees. It's not too comfortable. But that morning, a helicopter landed right by where I was.
By sheer
and
chance?
No, they were picking somebody else up who had health issues, and I asked if I could get on with their can I pay you to be part of this? And they're like, no, we're already full. And so I inquired, and it was going to be $4,000 to get a helicopter up there. And the only other option is to hop on the back of a yak and take a yak all the way down. But with my back, there's just no way. It would have been
With your back on a yak.
my back on a yak. That sounds like a Dr. Seuss kind
Totally
of thing.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr.
So
Seuss
What
I-
does a yak look like, just as a matter of interest?
it's very hairy. It's very long-haired. It looks a lot like
It's a horse or a moose? Or
No,
what?
it looks a lot like a
It's like a buffalo.
buffalo, essentially. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's
It's
got
Like
these
a
round,
long-haired buffalo.
Yeah.
Sherry, how did you know that? Have you had any interactions with a yak, or are you just well educated?
I just educated. I don't have any experiences with yaks.
You've never met a yak?
No, I've never met a yak.
Never met a yak I didn't like.
I've never met a yak I liked. So
Where yak? Okay.
So
So
that
there you go. So you didn't want to take a yak.
I didn't want to
And
take
you
a
didn't want
yak.
to spend $4,000 on a helicopter.
Yeah, and I didn't
'cause
know if my health insurance covered it, whatever. So the only option was to continue walking.
Couldn't you call someone on Skype and ask them, hey, does my health
I was gonna
insurance...
say.
Really?
Yeah, I actually did at that point.
Isn't
and
Skype owned by Microsoft, by the way?
I don't know.
Which is owned by Halliburton, who can probably get you health insurance.
Probably. So that day,
Okay, so we're on day 2 now. It's the morning.
day 2 on the way down.
Helicopter's taken off with someone else. What was wrong with
exactly.
that guy?
I don't know. I don't know. I
I'd
didn't
like to
ask.
know what qualifies him as having health issues and you having to walk.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe
he had
he
No,
had
no,
a-
no, no. He's getting in the
He had-
helicopter
he had
because he
money.
has health issues.
But he had money to get out. That's what it was.
He's got better health insurance.
I guess.
that's the health issue.
Yeah.
The health
Okay.
issue is money.
That's Obamacare.
Kind of like a stripper.
Oh, here we go.
Starts with a $10 bill.
Starts with a $10 bill.
Yeah, so it was supposed to take me 4 hours to get to the next village, and it took me 12 that day. It was just,
It's like evacuation.
it was miserable.
Is it contraflow?
It was.
there?
There was
Mount
there was
Everest.
They
contraflow
have
going
that?
on. Yep, exactly.
Actually, that's almost a serious question for a moment. Are there people going back and forward on Everest? Are you walking past people like, morning?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
there,
you do pretty much.
there's a whole stream of people going up and down
and then
the
some
mountain
people that
the
are
whole
going
time.
down, and a lot of people need to use that same rope to go down. So you have to wait until the people come up, and it's
It's only
it can
one
get-
track. There's not two.
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
not like a highway.
It can get to be heavy trafficked.
Can it really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it? Does someone organize all
You
this?
would
Is
think
there?
after
Yeah.
all the years they would have a
An
little bit
alternate
more.
route.
Yeah, I was actually at a meeting at Everest Base Camp where they were talking about, okay, this team, we're planning on going up this time. When are you planning on going up? We don't want to all go up at the same time. But what happens is they end up all going up at the same time because there's only a small window of weather. And when the weather is looking good and you've got clients who have paid $65,000 to go up, climb up Everest, you don't wait. And so that's why it gets all
Who are they
all
paying
backed up.
$65,000 to?
To the outfitters who arrange it all. The guides, essentially.
So that's the Sherpas are making all this money?
No, not the Sherpa. That's the bad part. Is the Sherpas make hardly any money.
So there's some sort of middleman tour guide type
Yeah,
people.
exactly.
Oh my God.
Is it the country of Nepal? Is it the Himalayas? They're on both sides, but isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's
goes
Nepal,
between
but you
Nepal
can
and-
also go up from the Tibetan side.
Right.
Yeah,
Which side do you go up from? Nepal, the Nepal.
I was
side.
both times I've been there. It's been Nepal.
And
but
if you went up from the Tibet side, is it easier or harder or the same?
actually,
or-
that's not true. The very first time I went to Nepal, we did a trip, 1 week trip across Everest, and I went to Everest Base Camp on the Tibetan side. So I guess I've been there. I've been to the Nepal side twice and Tibet once.
Amazing.
So yeah, long story short, I eventually called Mimi, who you know.
Yes, she
And-
was on our show with you
Yep,
last time you were
yep,
on. Yeah.
And she was
On
awesome.
Skype?
Yep, I actually used Skype.
Okay.
And she was awesome. She contacted the health insurance provider, and they said, "Oh, sure, we'll cover it." Of course, long story about that. But so that emboldened me to go ahead and spend the 20. I got a special rate because I know somebody, so I got $2,600 for a helicopter ride out the next morning because I couldn't really walk, and that was pretty amazing. I took advantage of that
Wow,
and took
that's pretty
great
cool, yeah.
video and great photos from up high, which I'd
Oh,
never gotten
wow.
before.
Yeah.
So that was kind of sweet for me, and they took me right to the airport, and ambulance was waiting for me at the airport and brought me to a hospital in Kathmandu, and they were awesome. I mean, I had my own room. I had 2 doctors attending to me all day long. I had IVs. I had blood tests, the whole deal. Really, really great healthcare service. And when it was time for me to leave, they gave me the bill. The ambulance ride and all of that great healthcare cost me $303.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow. It would be
amazing.
cheaper for us to go there
Let's all
than
go
to go down
Kathmandu.
to,
Seriously,
Baptist.
I will go to
Let's
Tibet
go.
and
Yeah.
get all of my medical needs
Seriously.
taken
Yeah,
care
and
of.
then come on
Yeah.
back.
And it will actually be cheaper than, good to know.
Good to know.
Mm-hmm.
We'll all
Nepal
go to
care.
Kathmandu.
Nepal
Nepal
care.
I like the sound of it.
Kathmandu care.
What's
Kathmandu
what's
care.
Kathmandu like other than the inside of the
Kathmandu's
hospital?
really, really cool. It's always been one of my favorite cities to be in.
What does it look like?
It's narrow streets with tons of, at least the tourist area, Tamil, is a ton of little shops. They're all trying to sell something.
Right.
Very narrow streets, lots of smells of incense, lots of, Indian-ish music, I guess, is the best way I can describe
Did you
it.
buy some music and bring it back with you?
I did last time I was there, yeah. I brought some chants, some monk chants.
You know, it's funny. I hear that they really, really like American jazz there. I've heard from more than one
Really? I
person
haven't
that
heard
they
that.
really like it, and that they have been working really hard to try and get people in there to play it,
There you
and
go.
try and get musicians in to do it. And the last time they did, there was some sort of uprising, and the prince or some member of the royal
A
family.
member of the royal
has-
family killed his entire family. The prince killed the
yeah,
king,
there was
killed
like
the
a crazy
huge
hostile
massacre. Yeah.
internal uprising.
It's like,
and-
like Macbeth or something.
yeah,
Yeah, it really
exactly.
was, yeah.
Except not as cold.
Right?
Yeah.
Good
It's like
heavens. When was
Hamlet.
that? When was that?
That was like 2002, 2001, somewhere in there.
Yeah, it was right after.
So are
right
you
after
saying, Debbie, that
Millennium.
people don't want to go because of that?
No,
got a
I'm
bad
saying
name
that
in
they
the jazz
closed the
world.
borders. When that happened, they
Yeah.
closed. There was. I was
It's
actually.
all good now.
I was actually supposed to be going over there, and they closed the borders because Prince, Crazy Pants. couldn't
That's
keep
actually
it
his
together.
name.
It is his name. That's his real
Yeah,
name.
that's
need
his.
to work it
The
out.
translation from Nepali is Crazy Pants.
No, I think that's actually what it is. Crazy Pants.
Yeah.
You had a tour to Nepal?
I was working with a clarinet player who was working on getting a tour over there, and we were starting to get our visas taken care of, and all of a sudden,
That's from here in New
yeah,
Orleans.
the
You
hummus
guys.
hit the fan.
Hummus. I don't think. What do they eat over there in Kathmandu? Hummus is another part of the world, I think, maybe. Isn't
Yeah,
It?
it's not so
Not
much
that far.
hummus.
They eat with their
Everybody
fingers.
eats
So
chickpeas.
it's a lot of things called momos, these little kind of dumplings, which are really tasty.
Yum.
A lot of chickpeas, a lot of dal
Yeah,
bot,
yeah.
a lot of dal bot. Very similar to India.
Wow. So you got back okay.
Yep.
What actually, when you were in hospital in Kathmandu, what did they diagnose you with? What did you got?
It was dehydration and.
Oh, that is so ridiculous. You don't know how to. You don't drink enough water. You've been
There's
climbing
snow
mountains,
everywhere, man.
and you've been climbing
I
mountains
should
for
have just eaten a
years.
bunch of snow.
And you're
yeah.
a triathlete, and you didn't know how to drink
Yeah,
water.
Yeah, that's bad.
What happened there? No, really.
Um,
Why did you get dehydrated?
I don't really know. There was a little dehydration, but mostly it was a gastrointestinal, like a bug, bacteria in there. And then the back issue is something I've had in the past, so it was just kind of aggravated by
And how psychological is that back issue?
when you're actually climbing, or
No, when people say that back problems, when people have a bad back, it's got some sort of psychological. It's not just all physical; it's psychological. Is
I
that
don't
true?
know. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that stress adds to bad health in general. So, but I don't know.
No
How
idea.
you sit, how you stand, how
Yeah.
you walk.
Yeah, I think it's more of a physical thing. Yeah.
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 I was wanting to get onto Kevin Costner as well as a subject today.
Kevin.
I don't think I have a thing to say about Kevin
I
Costner.
have
Nothing?
Neither do
Anyone?
I. No.
Eric,
Except that
got
Robin
any-
Hood movie was just a mistake from start to finish.
Oh, that
Other
was.
than that, yeah.
I like to bring up Kevin Costner wherever possible.
That's
though.
that's a good idea.
Most shows we
I
talk-
actually made out with him twice, but I don't like to talk about it too much.
I watched him make
Too
out with him
personal a
twice.
question, isn't it?
It's
You
very
were there for
personal.
that?
It's
Now
very
you know
personal.
my pain.
Eric, you got anything to say about Kevin Costner? Listen to this story.
Is there a
guys.
question behind the question?
Yeah, because I know something about you and Kevin Costner. That's why I brought it up.
That's why I was late here. I was doing a favor for Lily, his daughter.
Lily Costner is
Lily
in town in
Costner.
New Orleans
Yes.
today, and
She's
she was
my
coming over.
future girlfriend. She just doesn't know it yet.
How old is she?
Old enough.
She's old enough to be, I just
I was
wanted
gonna
to check
say,
on
she's
that.
not 12 or anything, is
Yeah.
she?
Well, she won't be forever.
Right?
Oh,
They do,
nice answer, Mom.
they do grow up.
Yeah, I have 2 boys. Whatever. Don't judge.
How old are your boys?
9 and 6.
Okay. That's a serious amount of work there.
Yeah.
No wonder you want to go to Kathmandu. or anywhere.
Wherever I don't
Okay,
think they'll
so
find me.
so Lily Costner is Kevin's old enough to be your girlfriend daughter who
Correct.
came by today, and she's obviously good looking by the
She
sound
is,
of it.
yes.
And what is she coming over to your house for? Just because attracted to you?
She is in music. She's a singer.
So is he. He has a band, right?
He does, and his band leader and her are working on some music, and I was accommodating them and let them borrow some equipment.
They have to borrow it. Kevin Costner has
They
got
did
so
offer
many.
to pay.
Kevin
They did
Costner.
offer.
And
it's
you
the old-
said-
that's the
Did you
bait.
just say they
That
offer?
Robin Hood money's not coming
Oh,
through anymore.
How did they not
He had to
just
sell Field of Dreams, so
If you sell it, they won't. Never mind.
What are they borrowing that they don't have?
Mic stands.
Mic
of
stands.
All things.
Wow.
whoa, well, that's hard to travel with.
Yeah,
you
that
know?
is a pain in the
ass,
ass,
Yes.
mic stands.
Yes, I get it.
Yeah.
Right, because it screws off and you can tilt it sideways and slide it in.
I don't
yeah,
think.
it's so
I don't think.
What are-
that-
what are we
did
talking
you just
about?
say?
Yeah,
What
what are we
did-
talking about?
She
Sorry,
is
I
right.
Screws off and slide it in. Okay.
So
Yeah.
they came over to. How did they find you, of all people? From the One-Eyed Jacks?
No, a friend of mine, a filmmaker that I'm currently mixing a movie for, is working for him while he's in
Not
town.
Travis.
No,
The different one.
different one.
What are they making here?
I think it's called Black and White, but he's starring in a movie that's been filming here for the last couple weeks, and this is their last weekend in town.
So this is Kevin Costner is starring in a movie here.
Correct.
Not
yeah.
called Black and White, though.
I think that is the name of the film.
That
The
is the
Black and
name
White.
of the
The
film.
theme song
Okay.
is Ebony and Ivory by Paul McCartney.
Nice.
I feel like I'm on a
So
show of Guess Who. It's like, all right.
so what's his daughter Lily doing here? She's just hanging out. She travels with him.
Yes, but they're composing music for the film.
Oh, cool.
His band leader and his daughter are involved with the creation of the soundtrack.
Okay.
This is all confidential information, by the way.
Apparently, we're not supposed to know this. This is
Well,
all
it's on the
embargoed
internet,
until
so
the
who
film
will
comes
know?
out.
That's true. That's true.
Who will know
So
on the internet?
they come over to get the. No one goes on the internet, right? Thank God for
No,
social
Prince
media.
said it's
Thank
dead.
God for social media.
So, Prince. Did you say?
Prince said that the internet is dead and closed down
That
his
means
website.
it's
You must-
dead.
and
That's because no one's buying
You must
his
be
music
talking
right
about Prince
now.
Charles.
You mean the
that one too.
the artist formerly known as Prince?
No, that one.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, do that again. Yes.
That's Michael
That is
Jackson, I
awesome.
think.
He shut
Give me
down
one more
his.
vodka. You'll be amazed what I can do.
You can have some more. There's tons more vodka. If
Not
somebody wants to
Prince-
go
not
grab
Prince
that
Crazy Pants?
picture.
No, not Prince Crazy Pants
The
and not
actual.
Prince Big Ears. No, the other
Slave.
the artist formerly and
Prince
now
Big
currently
Ears.
known as Prince. The boat anchor
He
formerly
shut-
known as Prince.
he shut down his
he
website.
declared the internet was dead, shut down his website,
What?
removed. He has no internet presence. Google search Prince. and see
Well,
what
I
comes up.
declare that the
Other
internet
than
is
his
open.
stories.
Yes. There you go.
And guess
We're back
what?
in
We're
business.
talking about it, so he's so
Cherry
good
Brown
for him.
declares
yeah.
the
Yeah,
internet
oh
is
no,
open.
He's smart.
He's an evil little genius.
Yeah, if you YouTube like him and try to look up his music, you can't
It's
find
fun.
any videos like unless somebody's like
Wow.
illegally
Maybe it was all a
put
dream.
videos.
Maybe he
That's
never
funky.
existed.
Right? Like you, because you died.
You're not.
I am
apparently.
a hologram.
Oh yeah, you didn't
died on
got.
Mount
You didn't
Everest.
get to the bit where you died on Mount Everest yet. So, Prince is off the internet. You cannot find any Prince music on the. Is it
yeah,
on?
he took it all off himself. So if anything's on there, it's like illegally put on there by other people that
I'm
are
sure they
his
take
fans.
that down quick enough. But
Yeah.
what about on iTunes and so on? Can you still? You can't find
He's
any.
taken
Gone.
everything.
Really?
He's
I
taken
didn't know
everything.
I wonder where he got that idea.
Like
I guess
in the
he's
last-
sort
I
of
think
had
it's the
a
last 2
mental
weeks this
breakdown.
happened.
Really?
Yeah. he-
Again.
Again,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's pretty crazy.
What is he doing? He was in
He's
Las
bored.
Vegas or something.
He's
Was he-
got enough money. I think the internet is dead is code for I've got enough money. I'm out.
He's like, I've got enough money. I'm swimming in it like Scrooge McDuck. I'm okay.
I wonder if he's trying to start some sort of a movement where, because wouldn't you love to get off this whole thing, except for thank God for this.
No.
Except for wonderful quality shows like this.
Well, this is
Yeah.
awesome,
Yeah.
of course. Yes, this is,
Ta-da.
but wouldn't you like to get off Twitter and
Yeah.
Facebook and all this bullshit and Instagram and just
No, I can't
say
because
fuck
if-
it, I don't care anymore?
Speaking of Instagram and Twitter, you can follow me at Cherry Brown. 2 N's on the brown.
Brown.
Yes, I noticed that you have 2 N's on Brown. That's very
That's because
Idiosyncratic.
somebody else,
Someone else is called
somebody
Cherry
else
Brown.
has Cherry Brown. She looks nothing like me.
Who is
Damn
she?
her.
I have no
And there's,
Jerry
there's,
Brown,
and there's other
apparently.
Debbie Davises as well.
There are enough Debbie Davises that I probably don't need to be one, but
I have a good friend named Debbie Davis.
well, see, there you go. There's another
She's
Debbie
right
Davis
here.
in New Orleans.
Why don't
Like,
you
there's
declare-
Yeah,
Facebook
that's who-
confusion.
yeah.
It's- see, there you go.
Why don't you
There's-
declare Debbie Davis is dead then, like Prince?
But then I'd have a lot of work to do. There's so many
You
others
have to
to
do
get
all
rid
the
of.
you have to do all the Debbie Davis.
Yeah,
It's
and
like
the-
Gates.
Highlander.
and some of the Debbie Davies that are mispronouncing their names. They're just
It's because it's French.
it's a lot of legwork. It really is. It's
Yeah.
actually Welsh.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
Welsh. Well, Eric
just
Heigle
saying
is a
it,
very
Davey.
unusual name. Are you from here in New Orleans?
I was born here. The name is originally from Alsace-Lorraine, and it was Heigle when they came over to Ellis Island, Hugle, I believe, and they Americanized it upon their arrival in the States.
Do you have much family here? Because we had somebody else who was on our show who was Tina Jameson. Do you know her?
Tina Jameson.
Yeah, she's
no,
got a band called Smashing Blonde. Who's got something to do with her name was Heigle or her mother's name. And my neighbor's name is Jean Heigle as well.
Really?
Yes. Have a look
I'd
on
like
our.
to meet him.
I know that the internet's dead, but if you look on our Facebook page, it's New Orleans. You can see videos of my neighbor Jean Heigle. She's pretty articulate and interesting.
Nice.
Her
I'll
cat
check it out.
her cat talks, and she built her own car. That's all I'll say about Jean Heigle. But she's probably some relation to you.
Her cat
We're
talks.
probably related, I would assume.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Hey, if we're going to listen to another song of yours, we have to do it
Oh.
pretty soon.
Okay.
Do you want to play one, or are we going to take a listen
no,
to a
you're
little
gonna
bit
take
of
one
one?
off the record.
Okay.
This is a song that actually a recent person who was on this show, Alex McMurray, wrote this song for my last record, and he plays guitar on it as well. I asked him for something kind of peppy and happy, and he gave me an uncharacteristically sweet and sentimental song.
He is a
So-
sort of romantic at heart,
He
Alex McMurray,
really
even though
is.
he comes across sometimes as
Comes
curmudgeonly.
across as a little bit grumpy or angry or misanthropic, and I imagine all those things are true, but he's also just about as fuzzy as a human being has any right to be.
And a hell of a musician.
Indeed. And smarter than all of
So
us
what
put
is the
together.
name of this song?
It's called I'm Looking at You, and it's available on my almost new record, my current record, shall we say, which you can find for sale at debbiedavismusic.com.
And it's called
It's not the years, it's the miles, which is also the title of another song that Alex wrote. that
It's
is on
Not the
record.
Years, It's the Miles by
right.
Debbie Debbie Davis
Yes,
on iTunes.
DAVIS,
DAVIS.
music.com. Once I was aching and always breaking, and all my birds they were blue, Lord. But now I see what heaven sent me, 'cause I'm looking at you. Feeling strange and I can't arrange it, but something's changed me, it's true, Lord. 'Cause now my peepers have spied a keeper. I'm looking at you. Go through life with your blinders on, and you're gonna miss the surprise. Your path is clear, but your mind is gone. You just need to open your eyes. So pull the scales away. We'll set sail today like them lucky ones do. And all I see looks fine to me, 'cause I'm looking at you. You go through life with your blinders on, and you're gonna miss the surprise. Your path is clear, but your mind is gone. You just need to open your eyes. So pull the scales away. We'll set sail today like them lucky ones do. And all I see looks fine to me. And if it looks the same to you, then we'll have love our whole lives through. 'Cause now I'm looking at you. Whistling
Yeah,
is always
thank you.
appreciated. Thank you.
It had a very Alex McMurray kind of sound, actually, that song.
Well, he plays
Does he play
guitar
it?
on it.
Ah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
And how's the record doing?
It's doing okay. I have a bunch of copies. They're doing just fine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's selling, people buying this sort of
They
stuff?
are. Hopefully more people will continue to buy
Yeah,
them.
it's
I
beautiful.
understand the internet's dead, but I'm
Don't
still
worry.
selling shit there, so.
It would be amazing if we left here today and we walked outside from Casa Borrega and then we found out that someone told us, hey, did you hear the internet's dead? and it
There
really
is no
was.
more.
It was all over.
And Al Gore is very unhappy with it.
Well,
He's
does he
pretty
get he
unhappy
gets 10 cents
anyhow,
every time
it's
someone
like,
says internet.
Nice.
He doesn't seem unhappy.
Mm.
So the record's selling. Eric, what's going on with the Bloody Sunday sessions? Where are we? Because I mean, you raised a whole bunch of money on Kickstarter and
Yep.
rocked the thing along now. So it's happening now, for real.
It is happening. We got 12 videos up on the interwebs on our website, bloodysundaysessions.com, which is basically streaming them from YouTube. We have about 12 of them shot and not yet edited.
You have 12 more you've done.
Yes.
So you
Who
put
else? I'm curious to know. I like the ones I've seen.
We have unreleased. We have Aurora Nealon.
Nice.
That was the one that Matt was a part of.
Yeah.
Terry Reid is pretty cool. The guy who said no to Jimmy Page to sing for Robert Plant. Black Joe Lewis and the Honey Bears. Who else? That's all I can give away now.
Okay,
You
that's
have
all
to
we can
stay
reveal right
tuned
now.
for the rest.
So you put them in the back of the buggy, and they can go anywhere they want. They decide where they're going to go on the tour while they play.
We talk about it ahead of time if they have an idea. The next idea, we're going to take the buggy on Everest, and we're going to start
That's-
shooting
that's
some
gonna be
videos
good.
up
It's
there.
not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Make sure the horse doesn't throw its back out.
$65,000.
They're actually going to get a yak.
It'll cost you $65,000 to get to Everest.
He's
Jump
got it.
change.
Unless Mark can
Well, yeah,
hook you
but
up
I'm
with
going to hook.
somebody.
No, I'm actually
You
going to
got the
pay for it
hookup.
because I am the billionaire photographer. You forgot.
Oh, that's a
So-
good point. Okay,
Yeah.
so you
Yeah.
can pay for the. You
He's
can
our-
sponsor.
yeah, our
Brought
main
to you by
investor.
MarcPaganiPhotography.com.
Exactly.
And I'm doing burlesque in the cab while Debbie plays. So
Very
we're all going to
nice.
be there.
Where are you going with your burlesque show, by the way, Cherry? and then we
I
can
am
look for
all
you.
over. The next one in town is going to be August 30th on a Friday, and that's at midnight. It's a free show. It's at Irvin Mayfield's Jazz Playhouse. We do it every Friday night at midnight.
Every Friday night at midnight, we
Every
can find
Friday
you
night
at.
midnight in the Royal Sonesta Hotel. Irvin Mayfield has a little area, and it's called Irvin Mayfield's Jazz Playhouse, and we do burlesque there every Friday night at midnight. But to stay up to date on where I'm going to be in the world, it's www.misscharybrown.com.
And this Brown only has one N.
Yes.
Miss Cherry Brown.
MISSCHERRYBROWN.com.
Okay. And Mark, you've got a book out that we haven't even talked about at all, called Fearless Photographer Travel. Look at the size of this thing. It's huge.
Look at
It's
this
almost
book.
as big as
It's
that
this
book that's
big.
behind the bar at
this
Pal's
big.
Lounge.
Wow, Mark.
And what?
Thick.
Look at all these beautiful photos in it. And did you write the text as well?
Yeah, I did the whole thing.
What?
Yeah.
Man, you are like the real deal.
Yeah.
Oh,
You can
that's a
climb
beautiful
mountains,
shot.
take photos, write a book.
Yep.
Listeners,
Are
you
you a
must
good-
get this book.
Are you a good
'cause
cook?
You can't see it right
Yeah,
now.
I can
no,
cook.
this
I can
book
cook.
is
I
not
don't do
for
it often,
radio.
but I can cook.
How come you're still single?
Well, you know.
No, I don't. That's why
These
I'm
single
asking.
ladies.
What's
Grant,
it?
are
What
you
is that?
are you propositioning me again?
Well, yeah, I
think
know.
we did it last
It
time,
didn't
too.
work last time because you were hooked up, but now you're single. You're the real thing. Look at these photos.
He is an
They're
Aries.
awesome.
Ladies.
So
He's
what is
single, ladies. And he
What-
writes books and climbs mountains.
And he's good looking,
Likes
right?
long walks in the rain.
Mhm.
He likes pina coladas as well.
No, I think he likes vodka. That's like the third one.
We're all drinking way too
Oh,
much here.
that's
Tell
what
us,
we do.
hey, tell us something about this book, and then we're going to get out of here in a moment.
It's a book for either people who are really into traveling or into photography, or people who are into both. And it's a how-to book essentially about becoming a great travel photographer. So whether you're a professional who wants to, get into travel photography, or if you're just an amateur who likes to take pictures on your vacations but wants to get better pictures, it's all about that.
So if I take photos on my iPhone, and can I improve
Yeah,
my
certainly.
photography by buying this book?
yeah, there's all
Fearless
kinds of stuff.
Photographer Travel. It's really
Yeah.
a great looking book.
It's on Amazon.
nice.
It's on Barnes and Noble. It's pretty much your local.
So I
bookstores.
open it to a random page, and I find these fucking flags again.
There's
I'm
so-
Mount Everest.
These flags
Yeah.
are all over New
That's
Orleans
the Kumbu
since
Ice Ball right there.
That's where it is.
Tracy
Yeah.
Thompson.
With Dalai
made the-
Lama.
the
Yeah,
ones
Tracy
for New
Thompson.
Orleans.
She actually
Really?
made some, and I brought them to Mount Everest Base Camp and took photos of them at
Did
Mount
you?
Everest Base Camp.
Oh,
yeah.
that's awesome.
And how long do these things take to decompose and go away? Is it really? I mean, how
They're-
many
they're
how
fabric.
many of these
How
flags are
long
all
does it
over
take?
New Orleans? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it should
You
be
know, really.
for the Dalai Lama's
Yeah,
visit.
yeah, yeah. They're everywhere. That's what I'm saying. No one takes them down, though.
That's the problem, yeah.
I mean, at least maybe we'll get a tropical storm and we'll blow them away.
I'm leaving mine up because
Uh-huh.
every time they flap, they're sending
Bite
all their
your
prayers,
tongue.
up to.
I didn't say hurricane.
Yeah.
Do your prayers actually go up?
Now you
That's
have.
that's
Yeah,
the idea
yeah.
of a prayer flag.
That's the concept, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
And
send
if that
them off
really
to Buddha.
worked, well, your back wouldn't have been thrown out. You
That's
wouldn't have been
true. That's
throwing up
true.
all over Everest.
Buddha was not watching
What happens
over
if
me.
you throw
You
up?
didn't bring your prayer? Did you bring your prayer flags on that trip?
Yeah, that's the trip I brought.
Oh,
them on.
So that's
Yeah, it didn't
what,
work.
what happens when you throw up and it's like freezing? Does it stay there forever?
You can.
it's
Well,
like-
you bury it in a crevasse, pretty much. Your throw up, and there's Gorax. These raven-looking things will come and eat it all.
They're
So
called
Gorax?
yeah, there's a place
What
called
Lord
Gorak
of the Rings
Shep.
thing are we in now?
There's a place called Gorak Shep, a little village called Gorak Shep just before Everest
Wow.
base camp.
Okay.
Fascinating.
It is. Gorax. Okay, so I think
scary.
we've covered the whole thing. That's happy hour. It's all over. And we didn't.
No.
We didn't get.
Aw.
There's so much stuff
But
I
I'm
didn't get
still
to.
happy. It doesn't feel over.
Well, we
We're
don't.
still
We don't call it
drinking.
happy hour because it's an hour.
Oh.
Hey, we didn't even get to the vinyl stuff. I want to talk to you about vinyl records, Mark, and we didn't talk much. We'll get to the Costners. It'll be interesting to see what happens with you and Miss Costner.
You should invite us
I'll keep
all
you
back.
informed.
Okay, yeah, keep us
TM
up to
they'll
date
be-
with
They'll
that.
be, they'll
Let's
be on
all
TMZ.
come back and
pretty
have this
soon.
exact same
Okay,
party
you want to
again.
do it? When?
Yeah.
Like 3 months, 6 months? How long will it take for us to have got
I
somewhere
don't know.
with
I
it?
didn't stay for another hour.
How
Are you?
difficult
I'm
is
going
all
to the
that?
North Pole in February, so
Are
I'll come
you?
back and talk
After
about
the
that.
North Pole trip?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
exciting.
Wonder what's going to
I'm
happen
going
at
to the
North
North
Pole.
I'm going
Pole
with this-
too. It's called Ohio.
Thank you. Try the veal.
Thank you.
Sunday.
Tip your waitress.
That's a different kind. There's no pole dancing in burlesque, right?
There is
Oh, yeah.
pole performers.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's performers that do
Performers who
pole.
are Polish. Exactly.
That's
There's
a whole
also Czech
different.
performers.
And on
Stop.
that note, I think we're going to have to leave it.
Oh.
Thanks for joining us. That's been Happy Hour for another week here from Casa Borrega. Our guests have been Marc Pagani, Eric Heigle, Cherry Brown, and Debbie Davis. I'm Grant Morris. The producer of our show was Graham DePonte. Our associate producer and technical director is Chris Kehoe. Christian Under is our music director. Dr. Cliff Brigden is our web designer and Link to the Real World. And our intern, who is actually not here today, is Caroline Kaufman. Our theme song was written and is currently being played by Mitch Foreman. The fabulous audio quality of this show is brought to you in part by PreSonus Audio Electronics. PreSonus makes some of the best audio recording and live sound products around, including Studio One music production software, Studio Live digital mixing consoles, Era Studio monitors, and much more. You can visit PreSonus.com on the internet if it's still going. For more information, if you'd like to be on our show and can stick around and knock off about 4 of these pink cocktails in an hour, drop us a line. Our address is on our website, where you can also find many more other happy hours to listen to, including some of our other shows. Out to Lunch with Peter Raschuti from Commander's Palace, Mindset with psychiatrist Dr. Nick Pajic, True to the Game with the fabulous Chris True, and Tammy Nelson. Vietnam, our show about the New Orleans Vietnamese community, and Midnight Menu Plus One with Margot Moss and the man who ate New Orleans, Ray Canada. You can keep up with us, thank God, for social media. On Facebook, Twitter, and a bunch of other time-sucking social media. On all of it, we're It's New Orleans. If you listen to this on iTunes or Stitcher, thank you for subscribing. Take a moment to rate and review us. That will help other people find us. Our show is recorded live today, as I mentioned, at the fabulous Casa Borrega on Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard. It's a bar, it's a restaurant, it's a live music venue. Check it out on Facebook and Twitter, and thank God for social media. Happy Hour is a production of INO Broadcasting for It'sNewOrleans.com. Andrew Duhon's back next week from England. Till then, I'm Grant Morris. Thank you for joining me. This is Happy Hour.
Hi, welcome to this ad for new Subway sliders starting at $1.89 each. How do you want it?
Cheer Squad.
Woo! Go Subway sliders starting at $1.89 each.
Give me a $1.89 ham and jack slider.
$1.89 ham and jack slider!
Give me a $1.89 Italian spice slider.
$1.89 Italian spice slider!
What's that spell?
Doesn't really spell anything.
New Subway sliders starting at $1.89 each. Go sliders!
Customization for flavored cheese and sauce at participating shops plus tax. Price higher on delivery. Prices higher in Alaska and Hawaii.